Hello, dear ones. My name is Maitri Libellule, and I am coming to you from Dragonfly Cottage, my little home in the woods in North Carolina on the coast. And it is a beautiful, beautiful day here. It was in the 60s when I got up. We have very hot weather here on the coast of North Carolina. Our summers are horrible, but when these cool days come, oh heavens. I actually live in a very old neighborhood on about an acre surrounded by big towering trees. And as I look out my studio here, all the way down two sides, it's all windows looking out into the woods. So I feel as if I live in the woods, but I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I have had a following. I have 2,017,000 or so visits to my long-running blog, Maitri's Heart, which is on my website, www.maitrilibellule.com. All of this information will be below. And I started a Patreon channel, or page, and sorry about the parakeets. All the windows are open, so the wild birds are chittering and chattering and singing and talking. And my parakeets, Franny and Teddy, are that way, right next to me. And they picked this moment to pipe up. So I hope you'll forgive me with that. This is real. This is down to earth, real, everything. I'm starting this channel because when I started Patreon, I started doing something that my patrons enjoy. 5 days a week, I do a 20-minute video called Morning Coffee with Maitri. And if you want to know a little secret, it is 20 minutes, 5 days a week. It is while I'm having my morning coffee, but it's not at the crack of dawn. I'm usually up between 9 and 10. And by the time I get everything going here, I have a little tiny one-eyed chigi. That's a chihuahua corgi mix that I adopted a year and a half ago. Her name is Molly. And by the time I get Molly and the birds and Oliver the betta fish going and all the studio lights on and make coffee and sit down and then record the video and then upload the video, which as you all know takes a good bit of time, it's usually between 11 and 12 when the video gets up. And that's in North Carolina, East Coast, USA. But I have not missed a day, even when for a week I had tree men here every day because we were hit by a hurricane again a little over a month ago, and I had trees down everywhere. And for a week, they were here with power saws going, cutting down gigantic trees all day long. But on those days, I made an evening matcha latte with Maitri. And when it was all over in the middle of an afternoon, I did an iced coffee in the afternoon with Maitri. But those were unusual, and most of them will be morning coffees with Maitri. My Patreon channel is Maisie's World, and that's the core of what I want to be talking to you about, but it's so much more complex than one might imagine. I am 66. I had a lifetime of wanting to be an artist. But when I was like in first or second grade, my teacher, I was in Catholic school, we had a very mean nun, and we had our little art time with the crayons going, and she came around, she looked at my picture, she looked horrified at me, she snatched the picture up, marched to the front of the classroom, held it up, and she said, looking straight at me, "You'll never be an artist." And she tore up my picture in front of the class. Holy mama. And by the way, you can see like my face is a little cattywampus because many years ago I had Bell's palsy, from which I didn't never completely recovered. So I talk a little cattywampus, and my eyes aren't always exactly the same because there's still paralysis on my left side. Anyway, just wanted to let you know in case you were wondering. We're so new here. Um, anyway, I was so horrified, and she was horrified because I kind of like had an orange sky, and the tree trunks were purple, and the leaves were pink and maybe blue, and I mean, I was in such a dream world, and and this was my dream. And in full disclosure, I had a because I want you to understand what this channel is all about. I come from a background of long-term sexual abuse, and I've had mental health issues all my life. They are, I'm bipolar, and because of my childhood, have severe PTSD and anxiety disorder. But I've been in therapy since I was 18, off and on, more on than off, and I see a wonderful therapist weekly. I'm also on medication, which I'm very grateful for, and it is managed by a wonderful man who's done this for 30 years and so kind and really works with me. I want to tell you my background, my age, whatever, because what this channel is going to be about is what Maisie's world is all about. Maisie, who is my alter ego, and her little dog, Daisy, who is like my little Molly's alter ego, have a story to tell. But this is not, I don't want to go into sexual abuse and bipolar disorder and all of that. But no, it's at the heart of everything. And I say that because Maisie's world is all about limitless possibility. It is about no matter how old you are, you could be 20 or 90 and everywhere in between. Um, and no matter what your limitations are, racial, sexual, financial, physical, mental health, whatever, you can still have and create a beautiful, happy, colorful, joyful life for yourself. It does not take much time. I mean, it does not take much money. Um, it is a way that I have, despite my limitations, created an incredibly joyful world for myself. Dragonfly Cottage has been my home for over 20 years, and Dragonfly Cottage was at first a dream, but it was very real to me. And every place I lived from 1999 to 2010 was Dragonfly Cottage. And I'll tell you that story on another day. But this is place, my garden, I'm a big gardener, and I have a studio that's just magical, and I am agoraphobic, as is Maisie. So I wanted to show you that even though I live alone with my animals and don't leave my house, I mean, before COVID, I didn't leave my house except on rare occasions to go to the doctor or to get groceries. Now, with the COVID, I hadn't left the house in several months and finally started doing that thing where you order your groceries on and pay for them online and drive to the little store that's 2 minutes from me, and I don't have to get out of the car and they put it in the back. I finally started doing that once every week or two. But I never left my house hardly ever before COVID for the better part of the last 20 years. In this channel, I want to talk to you about limitless possibilities, aging, art, because with my early childhood experience, I didn't start drawing. I wanted to. I was drawn to art supply stores. I doodled in secret. I made tiny little drawings in my journal, but I never drew. paint it. I just was too afraid to. Still ringing in my ears from like first grade on was, "You'll never be an artist." And how many of us had some kind of damage from early on by naysayers and people who discouraged us and whatever. Well, it's time to reclaim our dreams. I started drawing finally at 59 in the spring of 2013. And at first I had no idea what to do. So I drew a circle. I made 2 eyes that were way big, a squiggly nose because I had no idea how to do a nose, and then I made a pair of great big lips. And I looked and I said, "It's a person!" And for the first time I realized that no, I wasn't going to be George O'Cave or any other famous artist, but I was me. I could draw like me. But I still didn't have a lot of courage because I didn't know how to draw anything. I had no art training. I didn't go to art school. I am completely self-taught. So I started drawing what I call the 100 Ladies Project. And for 5 years, I drew these ladies. And when I say these ladies, I mean it was a head. I got wild with all different kinds of hair. They might look sad or happy or wistful. I got a little better at facial expressions and still didn't look like real people. It was cattywampus and lopsided, just like me. But the more you do it, the more confidence you get. And I drew these ladies, and for each one of the ladies, I drew a little short story about their life. And it was a story very much, Maisie's world was born and sprung from all of these 100 ladies. Because these were ladies that had imperfect lives, that were imperfect people, that may have had limitations or disabilities of a sort. Pipe down over there. Sorry. But somehow they had good lives in as much as they could. If it was an agoraphobic 70-year-old woman in an old apartment with a cat, or a lovely, vivacious woman on the outside who was very scared on the inside and lived in a beautiful place but never quite inhabited it, learning how to make her world something to celebrate. And everything up and down and around and in between. It was a story of being a human being. And I kept drawing those 100 ladies for 5 years. Had a little break in the middle when my house burned down. Finally got going again. Then came the horrific year, 2018, when I had been adopting pugs through Pug Rescue for a dozen years. I'd adopted 11 and 12 years because I adopted seniors or disabled little ones. In other words, the ones that nobody wanted were the ones that had my heart. And in 2018, I lost my last 3 pugs, all in 1 year. And it was crushing. And in September of that year, Hurricane Florence hit Wilmington. It was just a disaster in this town, and my whole property was a disaster. Trees down, fence broken, 100-year-old pecan tree on my house. It was devastating. And then, November, I lost my second pug. Ended up having to go to the hospital with a very serious blood clot in my leg. And the day after Christmas, my third pug died. I almost didn't recover. You know, I have a lifetime of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and all the rest anyway, but that year took me down hard, worse than when my house burned down. But the January came, January 2019. And I am not only never without a dog, I love them dearly and I care for them very tenderly and well, but they are emotional support animals for me, my dog. And I searched for a dog. I did a trial adoption with a dog I was madly in love with, who was the sweetest girl in the world, but she was a pit bull. Now, I don't get into the bad rap with pit bulls. My son has had a pit bull for 10 years, and he's the biggest baby in the world. They used to bring him here, and my pugs would chase him around the yard. Well, I adopted the most adorable pit bull girl, and I loved her. She slept on the bed with me. She was a sweetheart, but she wasn't here a week when we already started having problems, simply because she was so strong. And I am a disabled senior citizen. I have wonky feet. I have to wear one of these. I took it off for the video, but I'll end up, well, I was going to show it to you anyway, but now I don't know where I put it. I have to wear one of those necklaces that, you know, like the old commercial, I've fallen and I can't get up. Well, now that's me. I have very wonky feet. So when Annabelle, that was the pit bull, she could pull me down. And it wasn't her fault. Pit bulls are strong dogs. They're very loving and sweet. And I cried, but I said to the rescue lady, it had just been a trial because she wanted to see if I could manage Annabelle, who was very sweet, but I was an older disabled person. And it just wasn't going to work out. So it broke my heart, and they took Annabelle back. And then I started looking for another little person to adopt. And I found Molly. And she's a Chihuahua corgi mix, as I said. They call them chigis. I didn't know that was even a thing. And she lost an eye when she was in rescue earlier. And it was love at first sight. You will see her in some of these videos. She's asleep on her bed next to me now. But you can see her alter ego, Daisy, with my alter ego. I'm sorry, my throat got so dry. I hope you'll forgive me for taking a drink of water. I'm so sorry. That was embarrassing to have to do that right off the bat in the first video. But this is real, folks. We're not Hollywood. We're not glamorous. We're a 66-year-old woman living with some animals in the woods, doing her art, and finding a happy life amidst all the chaos and craziness. So I went to these people's house that had her. They had adopted her. But they had another Chihuahua, and that Chihuahua was attacking Molly so badly, and they couldn't get it to stop, that they wanted to find a home for her so that she wouldn't get hurt. She'd already lost an eye in a previous rescue situation. So I brought her home, and it's like somebody flipped on the lights. And there was confetti everywhere, and there was a fireworks display, and my heart just exploded with love. And I love her, and she loves me, and there was a little wolf. We're never parted. I do most of my painting with Molly in my lap. But what I wanted to do, okay, well, let me step forward a minute, back a minute. After Molly came, and after all the years of doing the 100 Ladies, which were only heads, and still not knowing how to draw like a whole person, because I can't draw realistically. I was sitting here with Molly in my lap one day, and I drew this crazy looking woman and her little one-eyed dog, and I painted it with watercolors, and I looked at it, and it was a whole person, such as she was, with her darling little one-eyed dog. And Maisie and Daisy were born. I don't know why at that moment in time I was able to do it. By now it was just months before my 65th birthday. but I ran with it. And for the last year and a half, I have been drawing and painting Maisie, and she has a very colorful world. She is agoraphobic and doesn't leave her life. But through Maisie's paintings, you get to see that even when you don't leave your own four walls, you can create a magical world. I'm calling it kind of a graphic memoir, the book I'm working on now. I've got 33 paintings that are up at Society 6, where you can buy prints and merchandise, mugs, t-shirts, leggings, you name it. And that's society6.com /Maisie's World. Again, I will leave that down below. But so many people, I shared Maisie's painting. I started out with no destination in mind. I didn't start out thinking, I'll do a book. I'll do this. I just started painting, and I fell in love with her, and she taught me things, and I tried new things, and I finally moved to gouache, which is what I work with now and love madly. And after a year and a half, everybody was saying, you've got to do a Maisie book. I want a Maisie print, whatever. And I opened the Society 6 shop first, just as kind of a shy little stepping out into the world, online at least. And there was a lot of talk about a book, and I kept thinking how I could do it, and I couldn't figure out how I wanted to do it. And finally it came to me. I call it fantasy, fiction, memoir. It will be kind of a graphic memoir of sorts. So now we come to the point where I am a 66-year-old disabled senior citizen living on Social Security and making it, but it's hard. And so people kept encouraging me to do Patreon, which I had followed people on Patreon. I thought it was a fabulous platform, but I was so shy. And I always have worried about, because my mental health is pretty stable now. On medication with constant therapy, I do really well. I've never made a commitment I didn't show up for in terms of, I'm a teacher for 40 years. I taught a creative journal keeping class for 40 years. I've taught all kinds of things, e-courses and whatever. But I always was afraid what happens if I have a bad bipolar time and I can't show up that day. So I didn't know what to do. I was scared because you have to provide content on Patreon. And what if I said I'd do something and then I couldn't? Well, after 3 years, I finally figured out what I would do. I would share Maisie's art, the process of making her art, and the money that I would earn by my generous patrons would help support me, get the art supplies I needed to do the work I needed to do, and create the graphic memoir. And help support my life here at Dragonfly Cottage, which is all about this work that I do. Which my blog, as I said, Maitri's Heart, has over 2 million visits over 14 years. And I've always written about love and gentleness and kindness and compassion and an open-hearted way of being in the world. Oh, Lord, the parakeets. I'm so sorry. But I thought what I could do with Patreon is just bring together everything that I could do. I could record these videos, so I thought of the Morning Coffee with Maitri videos, and share Maisie's art, and share inspirational quotes, and share what I've got. I'm about to put the second one up. We've only been going since September the 1st, and this is the 20th. So we're almost 3 weeks in. But I'm going to be creating every week or two what I call Adventures with Maisie, which will be some kind of art project. A fun, simple, easy way in. If you always wanted to make art and didn't have the nerve, you can come right along with me with my lopsided cattywampus Maisie and her world. And the first adventure with Maisie was about paper plates. making art on paper plates as a practice for 100 days or a year or whatever. You'd see more about that in Patreon. But I found a way to put things together, and currently at Patreon I only have one level, $5. I only have one tier. I will gradually over time go up a little bit to maybe a $10 tier, but I wanted to go very slowly because I am who I am, and I wanted to see what I could do and get very centered and calm and steady in doing what I can do. So people have told me they're amazed how much content I provide for only $5. Well, only $5? There is no such thing as only $5. $5 is a gift from the heavens to me. And my patrons get a lot of content. And when I go up to the next level, which won't be for a little while, in addition to the morning coffee with Maitri videos, I will be doing a nighttime podcast called Moonlight Musings with Maitri. And that will be when I've shut down the studio for the day. It's at the end of the day. Molly and I will be snuggled in our big recliner. And I will muse about how the day has gone, what I've accomplished, because you hear the beginning of the day at morning coffee. Now, patrons might like to listen to the morning coffee, watch the morning coffee videos, or they might like to listen to the podcast at night. And there will be so many more things coming. So I wanted to introduce myself and my channel. Of course, all the morning coffee videos and the podcasts when they're ready, and all of the other things are at Patreon. And if you support me there for $5 a month, you will have access to all of that and much more coming. But I've had so many people follow me for so long, and so many people follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, that I wanted to create some content that was free and public, so that people could not only have something free that they could watch if they can't afford or don't want to be part of Patreon, and I never want anybody to feel like they have to pay to support me to get content. So I thought I would start doing some free content. My blog is updated, 2 or 3 times a week. Maitri's Heart at MaitriLibellule.com. That is free and updated 2 or 3 times a week. But I also thought, what if I don't record videos on the weekend. So I thought, what if I recorded a Sunday afternoon video for all of my followers and friends and dear ones and family and whomever wanted to see it on a Sunday afternoon, and started a YouTube channel. Because I want, and I will end with this here, I want you to know that so much more is possible for you than you ever dreamed or imagined. That no matter what your limitations are, physical, mental health, financial, racial, sexual orientation, the world can be your oyster, your own kind of oyster. Might be a lopsided cattywampus oyster like me, but golly Moses, I spent so many years so depressed, I did not know it would be possible to be this happy. Maisie has changed my life. It happened a moment at a time, a drawing at a time. It came accepting that I was wabi-sabi, which is the Japanese aesthetic of the imperfect perfect. And I could embrace who I was and who Maisie is. And I can spread a message of love and joy and compassion in the world to everyone at any age, anywhere. So today, Sunday, the 20th of September, 2020, I am officially beginning my channel here on YouTube. And information will be below about other ways to find me, on social media, my website, Society 6, Patreon, all of that will be below this video if you're interested in exploring those other areas. All right, my loves, welcome to my world. Welcome to Dragonfly Cottage. Welcome to Maisie's world. Be well, be safe, know that you are enough and perfect just as you are in this moment. And come on this wild ride with me. Let's make art. Let's make joyful homes, even if it's on a penny. All right, loves. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you to my patrons who make filming these videos possible at all. I love you all.